All right, good afternoon, everyone. We have a small but esteemed group of gentlemen who are joining us, and hopefully everyone else will be joining us at a later date. We should have this recording up probably within 12 hours or so this evening when I get back. So here we are, Module 5, Webinar 1, and I did let everyone know via a email that I sent out how many more webinars we have and pretty much what we're going to be doing to wind up the course over the next month. So it's critically important that everybody stay on with the homework assignments and watch the webinars and be sure you're participating at the highest level so that by the time this course ends at the end of July, you're well versed on how to use the SAVIX MIS, and that it'll be useful to your organizations and your savings group work. So just want to reemphasize the need for people to reach out to Andrew or Hugh if you have a particular technical issue with the SAVIX, or if you're having a technical issue with Canvas and connecting, then that's for me, but we are here to help you. So I think without further ado, we're going to turn it over to Hugh Allen, who's in soggy Solingen, where it's 38. Hugh, you're muted. Hugh, you're muted. Can you? Maybe I can unmute him. Nope, I can't unmute him. Sorry, Hugh, we cannot hear you. He's talking away there. Hello, Hugh. We can't hear you. I can't unmute him, so let's try another way.
Okay, it's okay. I hear you. It's fine.
Ah, there we are.
I was digging out. I was digging out what I had to dig out to do this show.
All right.
Okay. Now let me just pull you all up. Where are we? Zoom. Okay, here we are, share screen. Okay, first thing is first. We have published this, which is the part of the manual, the MIS manual, which refers to reports, okay? And we talk about two types of reports. We talk about project management reports, and we talk about operational reports. And if you have seen this document, you'll have a pretty good idea of what it is we're going to go over today. We're going to take it down to, we're going to cover today only the first part, which is, which is project management reports, okay? We're going to be looking at upper level project management reports. So I hope those of you who have been following are in a position to have read this part. We don't need you to go to project operational reports. Basically, we're looking at MIS level management reports, okay? Right, so let's proceed. Okay, now let me just close that down. All right, and let's go into the MIS. Into the PowerPoint. Now, let me make sure that your screen sharing is paused. Oh dear, oh dear. Resume share. Okay, close that down, and okay. Can you see what? Oh, hold on a second. I need to share screen. All right, here we are. Yeah, okay, good. Now I just need to switch screens. I finally learned how to do that.
We can see it now.
Participants, stop video, remote controls. Wait a minute, where is it? Oh, wait a minute, this needs to get out of the way. This is in the way.
I think we can see it here. We can see the PowerPoint.
We have, we should,
PowerPoint.
Unfortunately, you can't see my screen, can you?
You can.
I can see module 5 reports PowerPoint.
Sorry, Andrew?
I can see Module 5 reports, the screen that says Module 5 report. I think that's your PowerPoint, right?
You can see that.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, then we'll just proceed. Okay, now what we basically have is we have several different report types. Okay, so what we start off with the person who is the MIS administrator. Now, if you remember, the MIS administrator is the person who creates projects, creates an MIS, and creates projects. And they also create user-defined fields, which we are going to cover later. But for the moment, we're looking here at projects, at reports that are for the MIS administrator and not for the project administrator. So the MIS administrator is looking at what we call upper level reports. They're not looking down at the level of the trainers in the field and the performance of operations. They're looking at the results at the level of the project. So we have the MIS administrator, and you have single or multiple projects. Okay, you can have more than one project as MIS administrator. And then what you have is you have what we call the project performance report. And that is an aggregator, project performance aggregator. Now, why do we call it an aggregator? It's because if you have more than one project, you can aggregate them. You can choose a single project, you can choose multiple projects. But if you choose more than one project, it will add everything up. So if you've got 200 groups in one project and 300 in the other, it will give a report which shows 500 groups. So this is an aggregator report. Now, bearing in mind that, again, the project administrator, the MIS administrator may be looking at multiple projects, we also have a report which is called the project comparison report. This is where you can compare one project with another project. And what you can do in this case is you as the user can select the metrics. So, for example, you may say number of members in each project, or return on savings, or percent of members with loans outstanding, and so on and so forth. And you can compare the results project by project. We then have the benchmark report. Okay. Now, the benchmark report is a report which takes your project or your the various number of different projects that you have within the single MIS, and it allows you to compare your results with those of other organizations, or actually the average results for a given country or a sub-region. So, for example, if you're in Mozambique and you have 3 projects, your benchmark report will allow you to compare your 3 projects to the average for Mozambique. So that gives you a sense or a chance to sort of figure out how well you're doing compared to other people. Next report you have is what we call a trends report, which I guess it speaks for itself. It's basically a series of graphs which are based upon fixed chosen indicators like number of groups, return on savings, and so on and so forth, which allows you to see over time how the performance of your project or cluster of projects is doing. And then finally, you have a project map. And the project map is a map that the system can create, which allows you to identify the specific location of individual groups. Now, you haven't actually been shown yet how to enter data or GPS data, which will allow you to generate a project map. And we've excluded it from this training because it's something that is best done using the Savix mobile data entry system. So we're going to make that available to you so that you'll be able to do that. But what we're showing here is reports at the MIS level, and you'll notice there's nothing here that talks about how individuals like supervisors or trainers are doing at their project level. Now, having said that, we also have project administrator reports, and project reports only cover a single project. Okay, so you log on as project administrator, you have one project. Okay, and what other reports that you can have? Well, you have what I call the project management report, the big bosses reports. These are reports that go to senior management, and basically they are pretty much the same as project performance and benchmark, project performance and benchmark reports. Okay, and then underneath it we have operational reports for field staff. So let's take a look at what you get as a project administrator. Under project management reports, you have project performance, same as up here, except for a single project. You have the benchmark report, same as for a single project. You have trends report for a single project, and you can have project map. But obviously, you don't have a project comparison report because you're not comparing one. You've only got one project and you can't compare it. Now, so in other words, a lot of the reports that you have at the MIS administrator level are duplicated, but for a single project. But at the MIS level, they are for either a single project or multiple projects. But as you can see, they're kind of upper level results. However, you're trying to manage field staff, so you also have another set of reports. You have the trainer comparison report, where you can compare the performance of one trainer with another. You have a group comparison report, which is where you can select a particular individual trainer, and that person, then that person's portfolio is shown, showing all the groups just for that one person. So you're comparing the groups in an individual trainer's portfolio. Then you have group performance report, pardon me, which is a report for a single group in case you discover something which is unusual about a group and you want to look in more detail. You have the group performance report. Now there's a couple of other reports. One is trainer performance. Now you may say, what is the difference between trainer performance and trainer comparison? Well, the trainer comparison is a report which is generated by the project administrator, but the trainer performance report is a report that is configured by the MIS administrator and gives an automatic result based upon metrics which are agreed at the MIS level and will apply across all projects. Now that's a very important issue, because let's say you have 3 projects. How do you compare them? If you're the MIS administrator, how do you know, or sorry, if you're the project administrator, how do you know how your performance is being judged? Well, the MIS administrator can set standards for trainer performance, for example, minimum and maximum number of groups, or maximum, minimum return on savings, or average savings per member. You can select whatever metrics are appropriate, and you can set upper and lower standards. And you receive a score that, at the level of your trainers. So your trainers will get a percentage score, which is based upon the metrics which have been agreed with the MIS administrator and are set up by the MIS administrator. But the trainer comparison report is a report which is completely under the control of the project administrator. Finally, you have data aging report. This report allows you to look at the age of the data that you're receiving so that you can see which trainers have not or have been collecting data and are keeping things up to date, and those who are a bit behind and may need some help to catch up. But today what we're going to be focusing on is not the project administrator reports, that's for next week. We're going to be focusing on the MIS administrator reports. So let's take a look at them. First, okay, the reporting screen. Now, when you, what I've done here, you'll notice I've logged on as the MIS administrator, hugh@vsla.net, okay? And here I have my project management reports. These are the ones I'm interested in. And I have what I showed you above, the project aggregator, the project comparison, the benchmark, the trends report, and the project map. So this screen is the home screen of the MIS administrator. reports are found in the Project Managements tab, this one. This is where you'll find the reports. Okay, now let's take a look at the Project Aggregator. So here we are. We've clicked on Project Aggregator. Okay, here it is. We've gone to the Project Management Reports and we've clicked on Project Aggregator. Now, here you see that the MIS administrator has selected the 3 projects in this MIS. This is a particular case in Rwanda. So there were 3 projects and the MIS administrator has selected all. So all of these projects are contributing their results to the MIS administrator. So the MIS administrator selects the project and clicks Run. And here is the result. Okay, I'm only showing you part of the result. I'm going to show you the full screen later on, but here is part of the result. So we have 15,000 members, of which 4,545 are men and 10,567 are women, etc. It's just the normal project performance report, but it is shown as an aggregation of the three projects. So when Run is pressed, the report then aggregates the results of the selected projects with a summary of the entire program. Any questions?
Mosiski. Na pene não.
Hello? Is there a question? Okay, let me carry on.
There are options here.
Okay, so here we've got Project Aggregator at the MIS level. Now, of course, if you have an MIS with only one project in it, you won't have any aggregation. You'll click on the aggregator, and if I go back here, let me just go back. I think I can go back. Let me just check that out. Oh dear. I need to share my screen again. Hold on. Just a moment. Where was it? Where was it? Now, here we are. Right, let me just go back. Right. Tell me when you can see my screen. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, you can see the MIS, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so here we go. So now, this was the previous screen, and you see I've got 3 projects. Now, if I had an MIS with only one project, I would only see one project. So I could, although I would click aggregator, there would only be one to see. Okay? Right, but in this case, we have an aggregate report here showing 15,000 members. Okay? Right. So we run the report, and there it is. Now, next, project comparison. Okay, so the next report allows the MIS administrator to select one or more projects to be able to compare.
We've lost the last screen. We've lost the full screen.
Sorry?
We've lost the full screen.
Just a minute. Can you see it now?
Yes,
Yeah.
now we can see it.
Okay, good. Okay, so here you see we've got project comparison. Now this is quite an interesting report. It allows the project administrator not only to choose the projects that they want to compare, but also the metrics that they want to use. So let's see what that looks like. Okay, so here we are. Now you'll notice I've moved to project comparison, and it's asked me which projects do I want to compare. And in this case, I've selected all 3 projects. Okay. Okay. There it is. And now, here's what I've done next is the MIS administrator then selects the metrics they want to test. So here, for example, I'm showing attendance rate, and I'm showing average annualized savings per member, and I'm showing all of these metrics here. I choose, this is a drop down, and I can select the metrics I want to test. And when I do that, the MIS administrator then presses run and gets this report. And you can see here, we're showing a comparison of 2 projects, and we're showing a number of groups, number of members, attendance rate, average annualized savings per member, return on savings, and percent of members with loans outstanding. Now you'll notice I selected 3 projects, but I've only got a report on 2. Can anybody suggest why I've only got a report on 2 and not 3? Any ideas? Maybe I'll help you. It's because the 3rd project didn't have any data in it. So we're only getting actual responses from 2 projects. These, by the way, are projects that actually exist. Right, then we have the 3rd screen, which is benchmark. Okay, there it is. This allows the MIS administrator to compare a project with or a cluster of projects with the average results for the country, the sub-region, which would be something like East Africa, the region, which would be something like Africa or Latin America, or the world. And the comparison, the data for this comes from your MIS, which is obviously the one where you're working with, but the comparison is with data that is posted to the savings. So here I'm selecting, the MIS administrator selects the projects they want to include from a drop-down list. Okay, in this case, I've selected all projects. The geographical level is then selected, which is country. And then the specific country is identified, in this case, Rwanda. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be comparing my project with all other projects in Rwanda. I could have selected sub-region, which would have been East Africa. Okay, so you would not then be selecting a country. But I mean, it could be that you're operating in a country where there are no other savings group activities ongoing. So you can't compare your project with others in the country. So you would then move up to the next level, which would be the sub-region. Okay, so here we see it's Rwanda. Now, here's the results. Now this is quite interesting. You see here, okay? So it says we've got some fixed metrics. So for example, the sample age for our project is 34 weeks. The average group for Rwanda as a whole is 37 weeks. We have 86% attendance rate. Rwanda has 88%. Average annualized savings per member for us is 35 against 54 for Rwanda. Our average loan size is $19 against 36 for the country as a whole. And return on savings for Rwanda as a whole is 39%. And for this cluster of project, it's only 16%. So we're looking at significantly less performance, but we are also looking at significantly less cost. The average cost per member for Rwanda is $26. We are spending $9. So the conclusion I would draw from this is that maybe we need to spend a little bit more to get better results, okay? The results aren't bad. For example, you have a higher fund utilization rate, average for Rwanda, and you have more members borrowing. But the savings and loan activity is less, and the attendance rate is very slightly.
94 degrees there in Germany.
Okay. All right. So
Should be
Note
earning
that the
grants
list of
today.
projects chosen is displayed. Okay, so here are the projects. By the way, somebody is eating their lunch with, I can hear a knife on a plate.
Nope, that's me. Sorry, Hugh.
Mute yourself, sir. Okay, so we have 2 projects here. And the results for Rwanda are displayed next to those for the project. Now then we move on to trends, okay? Now the trends report, you can choose up to 11 different metrics. So I click on trends, and then I select a cluster of projects or a single project. And then I select one metric. Now let me just go back. Here you notice there are 4 metrics showing here. In fact, there are 13 metrics, but we've chosen number of groups, okay? So the MIS administrator selects the project name or names from a drop-down list. You can have more than one project. And then this is important, the date at which the data should start and the date at which the data should end. So you're saying, where is the beginning of my trend and where is the end? And this has been selected from November 2013 to December 2014, basically just 13 months. The MIS administrator then selects a single metric, in this case, number of groups. Only a single metric can be selected. And then you get a trend map. So there we are. We started off with 0 groups. Now we're up to 330. Okay, I think it's 330, yes. Okay, but you can see that from this point onwards, after 6 or 7 months, very few additional groups were added, only about 50. Okay. Now, maps. When you click on project map, you will get if you have collected GPS data, you will get dots showing you where the groups that you are working with are to be found. Displays the location of each group, and groups are represented by colored circles with a single color for each project. So this is one project. This is Arusha. This is Arusha. This is Ngorongoro crater. This is Mount Kilimanjaro. Here's Kenya. So it's northern Tanzania. And this shows some of the groups in this particular project. Now, if you're the MIS administrator and you have more than one project, you've got 2 different colors. You've got the beige color and you've got the green color here, okay? This is a report for a project implemented by CRS in West Africa. So here we have the 2 different colors. And note that when the administrator clicks on a group, it indicates the name of the group, the name of the project, and the name of the trainer. Okay, that's the PowerPoint. Now, what I'm proposing to do at this point is I'm proposing to go to a particular MIS and show you some results, okay? So that we can go through the whole thing together. Okay, I'm going to share the screen with you again in a moment. I'm just going to call up what I want. Let's see now, where do we have it? Oh, I don't have it. Okay, right. Let me just now go on and okay. Now, I'm going on now as the project administrator, as the MIS administrator of a single project. Okay. Now here I am. I'm going to go into a lot more detail. I'm going to show you now how some of this stuff is very flexible. Now in this particular case, when I click on it, I've only got one project. So I'm clicking on it. There it is. And I can then run my report, which is my project report. Now this is for a single project, okay? There it is. It has the program scale and membership profile. This shows the number of men, the number of women, the attendance rate, the dropout rate, and the membership growth rate. Then we have a balance sheet for the entire project. If we look here on this column here, this is the sum total of all the assets, liabilities, and equity of all the groups in the project. And this one shows what it's like for the average project, okay? So you can see here that the average project has got 1.6 million Tanzania shillings as assets. It has 7,792 as liabilities, and it has equity of 1.623 million Tanzania shillings. And with that equity, they're making a profit of 249,422 net profit at this point. So here we have it here. Again, it's repeated. And then we have the average annualized savings per member. The average member is saving 102,000. The average outstanding per year, that is. And the average outstanding loan size is 81,000. Our return on savings is 19%. Our return on assets is 15%. And our return on average assets is 29.8%. We have 33% of our groups being formed by village agents, and the cost per member is 82,000 Tanzania shillings. So 82,000 Tanzania shillings is about $30 per member. So here I have a report on my entire project. This is one project, but I could have selected more projects if this MIS had more projects. Okay. Now, one thing here that is really interesting is that you can change the date of the report. So here I'm going to go back. You see it says 25th of June 2019. I'm going to go back to 2017, January, 25th of January 2017. I had only 15, oh, hold on, I'm sorry, I need to go up a bit more than that. I think that maybe let's take it to 2018. I had 46 groups with 797 members. And here my average assets was 818,000. Now, what this basically means, and this is really valuable, is it allows you to have, a historical overview of your project. You can select a date at any time. Okay, now I'm going to restore this back to 2019. And I'm going to go to June the 25th, 2019. I'm going to run my report again. And you notice here, it says that my assets are 1.6 million. Okay? Now, we've also got something else we can select. We can say results, end of cycle. And if I click on this and I select results for all of the groups at the time they shared out at the end of the first cycle, it will give me not an average for all of the groups in the MIS, but only those groups that have shared out. So I run the report. And all of a sudden, my assets are 3.3 million. So here we're showing that when groups actually share out, the assets that they have are much greater than the average assets for a project. And this is a very useful thing to show to donors, because it shows not what your average is with old groups, new groups, and groups that are 1 month old, 6 months old, 9 months old, 4 months old, 12 months old. It's just groups at the time of sharing out around about 12 months of age. And you can see they're performing a lot better than the average group in the project. Okay, so that is looking at your project aggregate. Now I'm going to have to quit here, and I'm going to have to go in and I'm going to have to find another project. Okay, and you must bear with me for a second or two. No, sorry. Hold on a second. Okay, I need to go in and find yet another one, because you need one where we're showing a comparison, and this doesn't show a comparison. Let me see. I'm sorry. Let me see. Tanzania norms. No, I'm not. I'm going to go back into the same one. I want us to go straight to benchmark. Okay, now when I go to benchmark, I can select all in this case, and I can say, I want to compare this project to a country. Which country? Tanzania. Okay, and then I'm going to run my report. Now it's comparing what we've got here with every single project in Tanzania, and it is doing it as of the 25th of January 2019. That usually takes a little while because you've got a lot to look at. Okay, so here we are, you see. So the sample age for our project is 35 weeks. For Tanzania as a whole, it's 27 weeks. Our attendance rate is roughly similar. Our growth rate is smaller. Our savings are less, and so on and so on. This is what we showed on that report. But what we've done here is we've now updated things, and we've shown that our costs are slightly lower than for Tanzania as a whole, okay? And our returns are slightly lower, and our return on assets are slightly lower. But we have more people borrowing, but we have smaller savings, and we have smaller loans. So in our project, we can say, what do we need to focus on? Well, we're okay in terms of cost, okay? Our attendance rate is pretty good, but people are not saving as much as in other places, and they're not borrowing as much. And we have to ask ourselves, is that because this area is poor, or is it because we are not sufficiently emphasizing the importance of savings? But at least this report gives you the possibility of being able to know where your program is compared to the country as a whole. Now, if I go, and I can also do the same thing in terms of dates and results at the end of cycle 1 for the country. Let's run it. Let's see what we've got. Okay. Yes.
We don't see anything. We just see the management information system. We didn't see anything.
I'm sorry.
You need to share the screen here.
On your screen, we didn't see what you did because it's only the page.
You're absolutely right. It says my screen sharing is paused. I don't quite know why. Let me just stop sharing and then reshare. Okay. Hold on a second. Share screens. So did you miss all of that?
Yes, we did.
Oh, you should have said so a lot earlier than that. Oh my God.
I've tried.
Okay, so now tell me, can you see my screen now?
Yes, I can see now.
Okay, so here, let's start again. Okay. Now, how much did you miss? Did you miss the entire description of the entire MIS?
No, I think the comparison that the one that you only did now.
Okay,
It's the last report.
Okay. So you missed this one, the benchmark report?
Yes, I think this one. Yes, this one.
Did you get Project Aggregator, where I went through this whole process, where I identified the project and I ran the report? Did you go through this?
Yes, we only missed when we were looking for the project to compare. That's where we missed. We missed.
You're too close to the microphone. It's distorting the speech. Can you say again?
We missed where you wanted to compare your project.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, that's where we missed.
So here, so I've got my project.
Yes, yes.
And I am comparing it to a country.
Yes.
And I am comparing it to Tanzania. Okay? Yeah. Now, I could, for example, compare it to a sub-region, in which case I would have these as sub-regions. Okay? Sorry, I would have these as sub-regions. So I would have East Africa. Okay? But in this case, I'm not comparing it to a sub-region. I'm doing it to a country. And the country I'm comparing it to is Tanzania. Okay? And then I run my report and I get these results. So here is the result for my project. Here are the results for Tanzania. Okay? And it's showing, for example, that my cost per, I'm slightly cheaper than for Tanzania as a whole. My attendance rate is pretty much the same. It's 0.5% different. But we're saving only about 3/4 of what is average for the country. And our loans are about 3/4 the average for the country. Okay? But we're also got slightly lower return on savings. We've got slightly lower return on assets. But we are also slightly cheaper. So although we are competitive, we're not so different from the average for the country. We still perhaps need to increase a little bit in terms of our savings if we can. But we've already got more people borrowing than the average for the country. So but they're borrowing less. You see, these guys are borrowing 54%, but we're borrowing 47%. So it's like we're borrowing, more people are borrowing, but they're borrowing smaller amounts of money. So it's probably not a good idea to push them, but you might try and emphasize a little bit in terms of savings, increasing the savings level. But the point about this is not to give you advice on a particular project. It is to show you how you can compare yourself to other projects in the country. Okay. Now, when it comes to trends, okay, here, again, you can select more than one project. I'm going to click all, run, and I can have number of groups. I can have attendance rate, which was 91.2 and is now 90.5. It's not much of a drop. My number of members, the average number of members per group. Okay, the percent of female members was 78.8, it's now 78.4, it's fairly stable. Average loan size, okay, that is 80,000 shillings, okay. Fund utilization rate, what percentage of the money was being borrowed? And it's stabilized out at about 45%. Percent of members with loans outstanding, it's changed, it's very seasonal. Return on savings, that's pretty high and it's stabilized out at about 19%. And dividends paid, which is very small, it's 700,000 shillings, which is very, very little money for the project as a whole. But this gives you the opportunity to create graphs, okay? For your one project or a cluster of projects. Now, the next thing is we have project map. Okay. Now here, you don't do anything. The project map generates itself, okay? And so here we have a project map. Okay, and this is showing Arusha region, and I can turn that into a satellite map, and I can zoom in. I can zoom in on any particular group or cluster of groups. Go here, go further and further and further in. Where was that one? Let me go out again. I've lost it. Oh, here we are. Here it is. Put it in the middle of the picture. And you can even see the house where the meeting was held. And if you then click on the group, it says Jeshi1, tells what who the project is and who is the person monitoring that group. Okay, so I can now zoom out. Okay. Jeshi, by the way, is army. That's an army camp. Okay. So I can select any group, click on it. Aldiani Mjini women, Angaruka irrigators, Ntuambu traders, and so on and so forth. So this is a map that you can use, but only if you're using the mobile application to enter GPS data. Okay, that is pretty much it in terms of the project management reports, which is all we're going to be covering for today, okay, for the MIS administrator, okay? So you'll see there, these are what I call upper level reports. There's nothing here which tells you anything at all about the trainers and how you manage them. And that is the subject of our next webinar in a week's time. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be having two things that I want to request you to undertake during the coming week. Okay, so let's take a look at what it is we're going to have you do. Okay, let's see, where are we? Hold on. Yes, I think my share screen is paused, right? Hold on.
Still saying we are still on the report.
Yeah, it should be paused actually. Just a minute. Training video. Just give me a second or two. Here we are. Right. Okay. Now, there's two things that we want you to do. Okay. That's one. Let me just get the other one. Okay. All right. Now the first thing is we're going to have a discussion.
You?
Yes, just a moment. Hold on a second.
Okay.
I'm going to share screens with you.
All right.
Okay, that one goes. Right. Now, there is an upcoming discussion, okay? And what we want you to do is we want you to look at the user's manual and read part 6. We want you then to look at the MIS Administrator PowerPoint, which will be in the form of a PDF, okay? And if you wish to, you can review the Module 5 video, okay? And basically, what we're basically going to do during this is we're not setting you a task as such, but we recognize there may be quite a bit of confusion. Oh, wait a minute, I don't think you can see. Can you see my screen?
No.
No? Okay, I better put it up. I don't know what's going on with share screen and all that right now. Let me see what I can do here.
Hugh, we can see your screen, but we're seeing the map. We're still seeing the map.
No, that's wrong. I want you to see the, hold on, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to start sharing again. Okay, just a minute. Right. Now, can you see this discussion?
Yes, you can see.
Okay. Now, what we're saying is there are three things that, well, two things really that you need to review. The first one is the part of the user's manual which talks about reports, part 6. The PowerPoint for this that we have just done, and if you need to review Module 5 again, okay? And what we're basically saying is we recognize that this is complicated and that there are many things that may not be clear to you. And therefore, to clarify any confusion you have on the MIS administrators reports and how these can apply across all projects in an MIS, both in terms of aggregation and comparison of results. It's also an opportunity for you to ask questions on how reports are selected, configured, and produced. If you have a question, please classify it under 1, structure of the MIS reports and their relationship to each other, and then how to select, configure, and produce reports. What I would like you to do in this particular case is to use the documentation that you've seen and just ask questions for clarification purposes. That's the discussion, because I think this is one of the most important discussions, because I know very well that hearing me talk for an hour is no substitute for going through lots and lots of examples. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is the assignment. Just a minute. Close that down. Where's the assignment? Just let me get it up. Hold on a second. Okay. And this is probably one of the most useful parts that you're going to go through. Let me just push it up, put it up. Trying to find you. I seem to have lost. Oh, there we are. Hold on a second. Where are we? Okay. Okay, I'm trying to get the system to allow me to share screen again. I seem to, have you lost me?
No.
Is my screen showing?
No.
No, that's right. Hold on a second. I need to connect with you again.
Hugh, the share screen is in the bottom tray of Zoom.
It's just not showing on my screen. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on a second.
Just need to hover your
Got it.
cursor
Okay.
down to the bottom.
I got it. Yep. Right, now let's have a look. Okay. Now, this is the assignment is where we are going to give you, there are three parts to the assignment, okay? You have two projects here. You have a project performance report for Rwanda, and we have a large-scale project in Rwanda, which is this one here. And on the next page, we have a small-scale project in Tanzania. Okay, and this is the project performance report. Okay, now, what we want you to do is we want you to identify 3 ways in which the Tanzania report is doing better than the Rwanda project, and why you think this might be. And we want you to identify 3 ways in which the Rwanda project is doing better than the Tanzania project. And I'll give you an example. Okay, so for example, in the Tanzania project, in the Rwanda project, you have a dropout rate of 11.7%. In the Tanzania project, you have a dropout rate of 5.2%. So you can immediately see that Tanzania, in this particular case, is doing better than Rwanda. Okay? You won't be able to compare currencies because Rwanda francs and Tanzania shillings are different. So we want you to ignore the financial part of the reports. We want you to focus on program scale and the key ratios at the bottom. Who's doing better in terms of the key ratios? Okay, so ignore the financial indicators and look only at the scale, the membership profile, and the key ratios at the bottom, okay? And also the operational efficiency figure for percentage of groups formed by village agents. So you can compare this particular one in Rwanda with this one in Tanzania. So 3 ways in which Tanzania is doing better, 3 ways in which Rwanda is doing better. Then second exercise is we're looking at the Rwanda report, and we are comparing the Rwanda report, the project, with the average for Rwanda, okay? All right, now the exercise here is review the benchmark report and how would you compare the project to the national average, and what may be the single biggest mistake the project may be making. So we want you to look at this, and we recognize that there is a big mistake being made by the project. Can you think what it might be? Can you figure out what it might be? Is there something there that tells you that they may be making a mistake? Okay? And that's a bit of a trick question, okay? But I want you to think a little bit outside the box, not just at the individual metrics, but there's one particular metric where you have a very, very big difference. And do you think that might have an effect upon performance? So that is your exercise for this assignment, okay? All right. Now, so the discussion on the overall project performance, where we're talking about the the discussion. The discussion is going to be held open until the 8th of July, okay? And the comparison is going to be held over until the 1st of July. So you've got the 1st of July. Sorry, wait a minute, as you were. Hold on a second. Yes, that's right. The assignment is going to be, this one here, is going to be held open until the 1st of July, and the discussion is going to run until the 8th of July, okay? And what we're going to do is next Tuesday, we're going to have another session, another webinar, in which we are looking at the project performance reports and not the MIS, sorry, at the project administrator reports and not the MIS administrator reports. Okay, I'm done. I'm sure there are lots of questions, so let me just be quiet and listen or find out if there's any responses I can give. Okay. Hello, any questions or not at all?
Hugh and Andrew, I can't see the chat box because I'm on my mobile application in my car, but there may be questions in the chat box. So
there are no questions.
Pardon me?
There are no questions. Wait a minute, hold on, let's see. Good afternoon, kid. Okay, all right, here we go. This one is from Lillian. Please explain what assets and equity are in savings groups. Okay, all right, assets are things that you own. Okay, so it's like cash in the box, property, and loans that you have given to members of the group. Those are things that belong to the group. Now, the loans may be used by the members, but the money actually is owed to the group. So you're looking at things that are belonging to the group, okay? Now, equity is where you're looking at all the things that the group owns, and you're subtracting out from that people's savings. Okay, so let's say you have, I don't know, let's say you have $2,000 you have $2,000 in assets. Okay, but of that $2,000, 1,600 is savings. Now you don't own those savings; they belong to the members. So the equity is the total assets minus the savings of the members. Okay, because you have to pay those savings. You have to pay back to members. Okay, so that was from Lillian. Then there was a whole bunch of not seeing the screen. But that was the only question that we've got.
Can't seem to see any other.
All right, well, if that's all the questions, I think we're probably done, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, I want to thank everybody. It was a small group, but we had a couple more people join us. Lillian and Stefano joined us later on in the broadcast. And so we thank everybody for showing up and apologize for some of our challenges with both screen and also keeping up on the chat so we can make sure we get your questions in, things like that. Thanks for attention to that feature. We do have another webinar next Tuesday. Is that correct, Hugh?
That's right. It's next Tuesday, same time. We're going to be going over the project administrator reports, which are really the interesting. I find those really fascinating reports.
We're kind of winding down here. We only have, I think, 2 more webinars after that, and then we'll be giving you guys about a week to catch up on everything, and then we'll have our virtual graduation as scheduled. I think it's August 2nd. So please look at the dates in the email that I just sent you regarding today's webinar, and that's a pretty solid bunch of dates. We don't have much flexibility to change them as we're preparing for our next live face-to-face program in South Africa, so we really have to just kind of phase out of this MIS online training. So please get your work done. Please let us know if we can help you. And thanks again for attending today, and for those guys in Mozambique, congratulations on Independence Day, and Russ, and have a cerveza. All right, thank you very much. I'm going to end the broadcast.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
I'm not sure I know how to end the broadcast. Everyone might have to leave because my computer is at home. That's normally how I would leave the broadcast. So I think if everyone just leaves, the broadcast will end. So, all right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everybody.